Good evening, everybody. So today we'll be starting with anthelmintic drug. Today we'll be starting with anthelmintic drugs. So introduction. So what are these anthelmintic drugs? So these are the drugs, agents which are capable of eradicating worms, helminth, parasites from the body. So they will remove the worms, your tapeworm, roundworm, different types of worm which attach themselves to your body, human intestine or other part of the body. So the basic thing is of this work of this anthelmintic is to eradicating worms and helminths, parasites from the body. They are termed as anthelmintic. So this definition is asked along with your main question. So what are anthelmintics? So these are the agents which are capable of eradicating worms and helminth parasites from the body, are termed as anthelmintics. In this, for this helminths, humans are the primary host for most of this helminthic infection. So hosts are the primary host is your human, and most worms produced in human sexually by producing eggs and larvae. So within our human, they will produce the eggs and the larvae which mature inside the human system, and they pass out of the body and infect the secondary. So they are ejected out. They are removed from the body through the feces. Okay, and they infect the secondary. Immature forms invade the humans via skin or GI tract, and mature to adult form with characteristic tissue distribution. So they got a specific area where they are associated. So this all worms, they are associated with some type of organs in your body. These are chronic in nature. It means it's a long, they stay long in your body. They stay long in your body, and they cause infection in mature stage as well as in adult form. So when they mature also, they are capable of causing your infection as well as in your adult form. So helminthic infections are rarely fatal. As it said, it is not fatal, but are major cause of other illness or ill health. So they are not that fatal, means it does not lead to death, but they lead to some other infections, okay, and spoil our health. Helminths are mainly cause infection in your by living in the host alimentary canals and in other tissues of the body, host body, like liver, lungs, muscle, meninges, viscera, etc. So they are spread throughout our body, human body. So what are these elements? Are parasitic worms. They are nothing but your worms which are present in your. So they are either two from, that is flatworms or plathelminthes, and roundworms, they are called as nematodes. These plathelminthes are of two types, that is trematode and cystodes, whereas roundworms are tissue type or intestinal type. Tissue means which organ they infect, where or they are intestinal. So these are the basic classification of your anthelminth. Basic classification of your anthelminths. So now these nematodes, they are how many forms? They inhabit in the intestinal or extra intestinal cells. So within the intestinal or extra outside the intestine. Which are the basic forms of these nematodes? Hookworms, roundworm, whipworms, and pinworm. So these are the various nematodes which are present in our body. So what are the different forms? Hookworm, roundworm, whipworm, and so these are present in your intestine as well as extra-intestinal tissues. Okay. So intestinal round nematodes which are present in your intestines. Example are Ascaris, that is common roundworm, Enterobius vermicularis, that is pinworm. So these are the names of your different forms of your nematodes. Tissue type nematodes are Trichotomia spiralis and Dracunculus medinemus. So these are the different types of your nematodes which are present in our body, which are present in intestine as well as in the tissue. Now, placentals. So they are segmented cystodes or non-segmented trematodes. They are tapeworms, and the non-segmented trematodes are called as flukes. Examples of segmented cystodes are beef tapeworms, pork tapeworms, fish tapeworms. They inhabit in your extra-intestinal tissue. And this trematodes or flukes, they are internal parasite. Example, see Histonomia, Hematonobium. They are mainly present in the bloodstream, and these are known to cause epigastric distress and abdominal. So these flukes live in the intestine tissues or in the, so they are widely distributed. These flukes or trematodes are widely distributed. Cystodes are tapeworms. These are the, as I said, examples are beef tapeworm. These are the biological names of this particular species. So, and these are the trematodes. Examples of your trematodes. So, now comes your classification of anthelmintic based on chemical structure. So, these are asked in your classify, define what are anthelmintic drugs, classify the anthelmintic drugs. So, the first class according to the chemical classification, first class is piperazine derivative. Examples are diethyl carbamazine DEC, piperazine citrate. The next class is benzimidine derivatives like albendazole, mebendazole, and thiabendazole. Heterocyclic like oxymaquine and praziquantel. Natural products like ivermectin and avermectin. Vinyl pyrimids like pyrantel and oxanthal. Okay, amides like nicosamide. Nitro derivative neridazole, imidazole, thiazole derivative like levima. So these are some of the classification of your anthelmintic drugs. So according to now, which drugs are given for which type of worm infections? For nematodes, it is ivermectin, mebendazole, albendazole, piperazine, teramazole, diethyl carbamazine, parenteral palmitoid, thiabendazole. Whereas for trematode, it is praziquantel, and was for cystodes, it is nicosamide. So this is according to the diseases, worms, which particular drug is given according to the type of your elements. So for nematodes, these are the class ivermectin, mebendazole, albendazole, piperazine. In case of trematode, it is praziquantel, and in case of your cystode, it is nicosamide. Okay, this is according to the types. Now, what are the targets for your anthelmintic drugs? Where does this drug act? That's the most important thing when you study a particular drug. So helminths depend, as you know, these helminths depend upon host glucose mechanism for their basic metabolism. So what do you think? You try to block the glucose uptake mechanism. Okay, that you prevent the glucose uptake mechanism from your helminths. So once this glucose is inhibited for the helminths, they will cause the death. So examples are benzimidazole and levimizole. Okay, this is the first target. Second is they may have moderately developed muscular system. Means they don't have that great muscular system like a neo, which can be stimulated or inhibited. Either you stimulate your muscular system. What happens when you stimulate? You becomes hyperactive and you inhibit it to produce tonic and flaccid. Tonic means lot of stimulation, and flaccid means when you inhibit them. This leads to paralysis through which different receptor through the various receptor mediated mechanism. Example: piperazine, parenteral palmitoid, levimizole. Next is they produce energy by, so these elements produce energy by your anaerobic as well as from oxidative phosphate. So this is where some of the drugs Okay, some of the drugs act. Okay, so next method is cell membrane acts as a barrier. So you know that every this thing helmet, they have a cellular mechanism. They have a cell membrane which acts as a barrier between your internal and external environment. So they can be perforated. You make holes in the cell membrane of your helmets, and the surface adhesion molecules can be added. So once you make holes in the cell membrane, this will alter the addition of the helminths to the host. So examples is diethyl carbamazine and prostacyclin. So these are the various targets for where the anti-helminthic drugs act. So whenever we will be taking the drugs, please look out for this. Whenever we'll be taking the drugs, please look out for which target the particular drug acts. So the first class of drug is piperazine. What is piperazine? It is 1,4-diazine. 1,4-diazine, saturated diazine. So it contains 1 and 4 position nitrogen, and it is a saturated ring. Okay, so this is the first class of drug, that is 1,4-diazine. Now let's go. It is used basically for treatment of ascaris, that is nematodes. That is your nematodes. Okay, it is readily absorbed orally and excreted in the urine, so there is no other problem related. So now how does this drug act? So the exerts its effect mainly by blocking the ascaris muscles response. So it will affect the muscular. That is what you have seen. It will alter. It will either relate to your flaccidity or tonicity. So it will act on the muscular nature. So this ascaris response towards. So they act by blocking the ascaris muscle response to your acetylcholine. So they will inhibit the binding of your acetylcholine to their respective receptor. This leads to your chloride related hyperpolarization of your muscles. So this leads to your chloride ion related hyperpolarization of your muscles. So what is hyperpolarization? The negative charge muscles will be increased. So when the negative charge in the muscles increase, that leads to this causes flaccid paralysis. So this will make your this will make your ascaris flaccid, and once this leads to your flaccid paralysis in the worm, result in dislocation of the lid. This results in the dislocation of your ascaris from the intestine. So when your muscles become flaccid, it cannot hold to your intestine, and this lead to a dislocation from the intestine, and it is eventually expelled through the feces. Okay, it is feces. It is feces. Okay, it is expelled through the feces. So this is your mechanism of action. So what is the mechanism of action of piperazine? It blocks your acetylcholine receptors in your muscles of your ascaris. This leads to your hyperpolarization related to your chloride ion. So it increases your negative charge in your muscles, and this leads to your flaccid paralysis and resulting in dislocation of your ascaris from your intestinal wall, and thus which can be expelled through your feces. Okay. Side effects are GI distress, urticaria, dizziness, ataxia, that is loss of control of your body. It leads to body imbalance, hypotonia, cancerous, and it also leads to visual dystrophy. These are some of the side effects of piperazine. So next class of drug is an diethyl carbamazine. So the structure is very simple. The structure is it's if you can go towards the structure. So what is the structure of diethyl carbamazine? It is also a piperazine derivative. It is also a piperazine derivative. So what do you see? You have an N-methyl piperazine, N-methyl piperazine, which is connected by an carbonyl group to your diethylamide. So you got a carbamide linkage, that is urea type linkage. Okay, carboxamide is N, C double bond O, N. So urea type linkage. So your N-methylpiperazine is related to your diethylamine by a carbonyl. So this is the structure of your diethylcarbamazine. This is the structure of your diethylcarbamazine. Okay. So now what is the where it is used? It is used in the treatment of filariasis and tropical eosinophilia. It is a drug, various drug of choice basically for your filariasis and the various causing filariasis causing agents, helminths. So it is also as synthetic piperazine derivative. As you know, it is an N-methylated carboxamide derivative of along with N-dimethyl. So what is the basic mechanism of action? It inhibits the metabolism of arachidonic acid and thus blocks the production of prostaglandin. So it prevents the metabolism of arachidonic acid, which is necessary for the production of a prostaglandin. And once this prostaglandin is production is reduced, this results in vasoconstriction, and this results in vasoconstriction. Okay, and it immobilizes the microfibrillae. That is, it immobilizes the filaria. That is the flagella which is used for attachment of your worm to your human host, and alters its surface structure, making them susceptible to destruction by host defense mechanism. So it will destroy its attachment and then it will be destroyed by your host mechanism, and it is not teratogenic. It is not teratogenic. So it is safer drug as compared to that of your piperazine. It is comparatively more safer than your piperazine. It is mostly given in the treatment of elephantiasis. It is a swollen foot. Okay, elephant foot treatment. Okay, so this is your mechanism. So they inhibit the block production of blood, resulting in vasoconstriction, and it immobilizes the microfilaria and alters its surface structure. So it will destroy the surface, making it susceptible to the destruction by the host defense mechanism. So this is the mechanism of action. Some of the side effects anaphylactic herpes, that is itching of skin, ocular complication, GI disturbance, severe itching, bumps under the skin, and blindness, headache, fever, edema, and rashes. These are some of the side effects associated with this particular drug. So now let's go for the next class of drug, which is most widely used in the treatment of helminths. Okay, which is most widely used in the treatment. So these are nothing but your benzimidazole derivative. Examples are albendazole, mebendazole, and your thiabendazole. The structures are very simple. Structures are really simple. Okay, structures are really simple. First, you have to draw is an imidazole ring. Everywhere benzimidazole. This is your benzimidazole linkage. So this is the first thing that you have to see. So what does it contains? It contains an carbamate or methyl carbamate linkage. So it is connected by a middle. It is connected to a methyl. What is carbamate? NHC double bond O methyl. This is methyl carbamate linkage. And in case of albendazole, it contains an S-thiopropyl linkage, which is attached to the benzimidazole, which contains an thiopropyl linkage to the benzimidazole. This is the structure of your albendazole. Now, what is rest all things are same. In case of mebendazole, only difference is instead of that it has got an instead of your propyl thio linkage, it has got an benzophenone linkage. Okay, benzophenone linkage. It is attached to a carbonyl group containing benzene. So that is the difference, only difference between your mebendazole and albendazole. Okay. Now go for thiabendazole. Thiabendazole is nothing but it is a benzimidazole moiety which is connected to an thiazole ring, which is connected to a thiazole. So you draw a imidazole NH. So it is connected to an N sulfur. Okay, it is connected to an thiazole. So this is the structures of your benzimidazoles derivatives. That is albendazole, mebendazole, and thiabendazole. These are the examples of your benzimidazole moiety. Okay, first is your albendazole. The structure of albendazole. So what is it's a benzimidazole carbamate derivative. It's a broad spectrum. It has a broad spectrum of atom. It is the drug of choice for the treatment of intestinal nematodes, ascaris, trichuris, strong, pinworm, hookworm. They're widely used for the treatment of anthelmintics. So what is the mechanism of action? They inhibit the microtubule synthesis. That is, they inhibit the microtubule polymerization in nematodes. Okay, that is intestinal roundworm. That reversibly impairs the glucose uptake. So once this microtubule formation, which the small tubules which are necessary for your glucose uptake. So this will impair the glucose uptake, and the intestinal parieta are immobilized due to lack of your glucose, which is necessary for the energy source, and this leads to your slow death. This is how the drug acts. It also inhibits your fumarate reductase, thus interfering with your ATP production formation. So it also interferes with your energy production mechanism. So these are the two ways. One is it inhibits the microtubule synthesis. That is, it inhibits the microtubule polymerization, which will impair the glucose uptake. This is one of the mechanisms. And other is it also inhibits your fumarate reductase enzyme, which interferes with your ATP production, thus leads to your decrease in energy production and thus leads to slow death. So this is the mechanism of action of your albendazole. So this is the structure of mebendazole. Only thing, if you see in this case, S-propyl is replaced by an benzoyl group. Okay, at the fifth position, your S-methyl S-propyl is replaced by a benzoyl group, CO benzene with a CO. So that is the difference between your benzimidazole, albendazole and mebendazole. Okay, that's it is much more safer at a similar wider spectrum. It is the mechanism of action is similar to that of your albendazole. So they inhibit microtubule synthesis, inhibit your glucose uptake mechanism, leading to your glycogen consumption. Decrease in your glycogen consumption and also ATP depletion. So thus they immobilize your intestinal parasite and causes the slow. And it is also active against most of your eggs also of your animals. Side effects are diarrhea and abdominal discomfort. So these are some of the side effects. Thiabendazole, the structure only thing is differentiated. That there is no substitution in the benzimidazole ring. Only at the second position, instead of a carbamate, there is a thiazole. But if you see, it contains a 5-membered thiazole moiety. That is the structure of thiabendazole. Mechanism is similar. It inhibits your microtubular polymerization, does inhibit, including inhibition of cellular transport, energy metabolism, and also consequences of depolarization in your inhibits your depolarization of your microtubule. Also, it interferes with your ATP production in your element and thus also decreases your glucose uptake and reducing the energy for the metabolism. So these are the mechanism of action of your thiabendazole. It is also widely used anthelmintic, but it is more toxic than other benzimidazole. Okay, side effects are nausea, vomiting, hallucination, leukopenia, that is reduction of W, pertussis, diarrhea, crystalluria, anorexia, and also causes fatal Stevens-Jones syndrome, that is inflammation of your skin. Okay. So next class of drug is pyrantel palmate. Next class of drug is your pyrantel one. So it is nothing but your example of phenyl pyrimidine derivative. It is an example of a vinyl pyrimidine. Why it is called vinyl? Because your pyrimidine and methylated tetra 1, 2, tetrahydropyrimidine. It is connected to your vinyl group, which is in turn connected to your thiazine. So what is the structure? What is the basic structure of pyrantel molecule? So it contains an saturated triiodopyrimidine. It contains a partially saturated trihydropyrimidine and methyl triiodopyrimidine. This is connected by a vinyl. So why it is called vinyl? So this is a vinyl substitution. Okay, and this is also further connected to your thiophene. Okay, we can see the structure is connected to it. And the other moiety is your, it is nothing but your naphthalene, beta naphthalic with carboxylic acid second position, third position, and at the first position it is linked to another naphthoic acid. So this is the structure of your pyrantel palmate. So you just write it again. So if you can, so it is thiophene ring which is connected by group to your N-methyl trihydropyrimidine. Now palmate moiety is nothing but, and see, if you see, it's a naphthalene ring, okay, which is connected at the first position to by a methylene linkage to another naphthalene, which contains an OH at the second and carboxylic acid at the third position. Okay, this is the structure of pyrantel palmate. This is the structure of pyrantel palmate. Okay, so how this drug act? They act as an agonist of acetylcholine receptor and inhibition of cholinesterase. They act as an agonist of acetylcholine and inhibition of your cholinesterase. So what is this cholinesterase? This will destroy your acetylcholine axis. So this leads to your depolarization of spastic paralysis of your helminths. This will lead to your spastic, means it will increase the tone in your muscles and it cause spastic paralysis of your helminthic muscle. And these drugs are more selective to the neuromuscular junction of your helminth. So they mostly attack at the neuromuscular junction of your helminth. It's a broad spectrum anti-helminthic agent active against intestinal and round-worm, pinworms, hookworms, etc. But it is not effective against your trichuriasis, that is whip form, okay, and other infections. Side effects are headache, giddiness, and drowsiness. Headache, giddiness, and drowsiness. These are the side effects of pyrantel. Next drug is your nicosamide, not nicolite. Okay, nicosamide, or so it is an example of salicyl anilide derivative. Salicyl anilide derivative. So what is this salicyl anilide? It is an example of chlorinated salicyl anilide. Okay. So what is this? We can go by the naming of the structure. So what is the first thing? We have to know what is salicylic acid. Salicylic acid is COH and OH. Okay. And what is it said? It is an chlorinated. So at the third position of your acid, there is an chlorine. Now it is an anilide. So salicylic anilide. The salicylic acid is connected to an anilide. It forms an amide bond with your anilide. So this is your structure of your salicylic anilide, and it is chlorinated. It contains chlorine at the ortho and a nitro at the para position of your aniline moiety. Okay. So aniline moiety contains an chlorine at the ortho position and a nitro at the para position. So how do you write the structure? So what is it? It is an example of chlorinated salicylate anhydride. So salicylic acid which forms an amide bond with your aniline, that is your salicyl anilide chlorinated salicylate. And now your aniline contains your chlorine at the ortho and a nitro at the para position. So this is the structure of nicosamide or nicolide. Okay, this is the structure. So now these are on the added forms. Okay, they are rapidly killed by inhibition of oxidative phosphorylation. That is introduction of your, they inhibit the oxidative phosphorylation in your adder. So they inhibit the introduction of your inorganic phosphate or stimulation of ATPase activity, the enzyme ATPase, which is necessary for your phosphorylation of your. This inhibits the energy production metabolism for anaerobic oxidation. So they will inhibit your energy production by anaerobic and thus causing the depletion in source of energy. So when they do not get the required energy, this will lead to the slow death of your health. So this is your mechanism of action. So they will inhibit the energy production mechanism for anaerobic condition and thus depleting the source by inhibiting the phosphorylation of your oxidative phosphorylation of your ATPase activity. And so this is once the phosphorylation inhibited, your energy source will not be active and thus this leads to your death in your nematodes. That is a health. Okay, they are used for the treatment of tapeworms, restored infections only, not nematode. The side effects are abdominal discomfort and loose stool. These are the side effects of the drug. Now, praziquantel. So, what is this praziquantel? What do you see the structure of praziquantel? So, basically, it's an, what do you say it is? It's a tetrahydro isoquinoline type of molecule. It is an tetrahydro. It's a tetrahydro. It's a tetrahydroisoquinoline molecule. So first what you have to show is, see, whenever you draw, look out for the basic formula. Then draw the attachments for the compound. So it's a tetrahydroisoquinoline. So tetrahydroisoquinoline molecule, which is connected to, which is connected to a piperazine moiety containing a carbonyl group at the second position. So this is fused to your tetraisoquinoline moiety, tetrahydroisoquinoline moiety. It is fused with an piperazine, which is fused to an piperazine moiety. Okay, till here. Now this piperazine moiety N is connected to an cyclohexyl carbonyl group, which is connected to a cyclohexyl carbonyl group. So this is the structure of your praziquantel. This is your structure of your praziquantel. What do you have to see first? Isoquinoline moiety. Isoquinoline moiety means it contains a nitro at the second position, not at the first. In your quinoline, your nitrogen at the first. In case of isoquinoline, if you see over here, the nitrogen is in the second position. This will form which will fused with the piperazine moiety. Piperazine is your fused, which is a fused nitrogen containing fused which is fused to your 1,4-diazine. It can also be said as an piperazine moiety. It can also be given as an example of piperazine because it also contains a piperazine ring in the ring. So either ways it can be said as an isoquinoline type of moiety or an derivative of your piperazine. Okay, both of the thing you can accept. So this is the structure. So it contains an isoquinoline, which is connected to a carbonyl, which is connected to a hexahydropyrazine, that is hexahydropyrazine containing a carbonyl, and which is connected to a cyclohexyl group by a carbonyl group. So this is the structure of your praziquantel. This is the structure of your They act on the neuromuscular junction. They are called a neuromuscular. They increase the parasite motility by spastic paralysis. By spastic paralysis. How does this drug act? This drug increase your permeability to your calcium ion into the parasite, specific antigen. So what does that do? They increase the calcium ion entry into your inside your parasites. So what happens when the calcium ion concentration increases in the body? It leads to your contraction of your muscles and it leads to your paralysis and expulsion from your body. So basically it is how it increases the permeability to the, it increases the permeability of your parasite to calcium specific channels. This leads to increase in calcium ion concentration, which leads to your muscle contraction and thus your paralysis and expansion of your elements from your. So it's an example of isoquinoline derivative. The drug is active in invasive stage but not in your liver stages. So in invasive stage, when the drug is trying to inhibit within the stomach, in your intestine, in that case it is, but not in your liver stage. Now oxamiquin. The next example is oxamiquin. So praziquintal was an example of isoquinoline, whereas oxamiquin is an example of tetrahydroquinoline. So what is this tetrahydroquinoline? Why it is called tetrahydroquinoline? So what is tetrahydroquinoline? So this is your quinoline, and when the pyridine ring in your quinoline is saturated, it is called tetrahydroquinoline. So what is this? So at the second position, it is attached to an N-methyl isopropyl amine. It is connected to an N-methyl isopropyl amine. Okay, this is the attachment at the second position. And if you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sixth position, there is an methanolic linkage and there is a nitro at the seventh position. So this is the structure of oxamiquin. This is the structure of your oxamiquin. Okay, these all questions are asked for 2 marks along with the mechanism of action. Most of the question comes for 2 marks along with the structure and mechanism of action or structure and uses of the drugs. Okay, these are the questions that come. So oxamiquin, it is an example of tetrahydroquinoline, and at the second position of your quinoline, it has connection with an N-methyl isopropyl substitution, and at the sixth position there is a methanolic group, and at the seventh position there is a nitro group. So this is your structure of oxamiquin. So how does it act? It acts by binding to the flukes where it esterifies and causes alkylation of your DNA parasite, causing interruption in your protein and nucleic acid. So your OH, free OH and NH, these are the sites for binding with your DNA parasites of your parasite, and does interruption in your protein and nucleic acid synthesis. It's metabolized and excreted as 6-carboxylic acid. So at the sixth position, alcohol gets converted into your carboxylic and it is excreted through the body. Side effects are it causes CNS toxicity with occasional seizures. So it is contraindicated in your pregnancy. So it acts basically as an alkylating agent. It alkylates your DNA parasites and does interruption in your protein and nucleic acid synthesis. This is how oxamiquin acts. And the structure, it is an example of tetrahydroquinoline with an N-methyl isopropyl substitute at the second position and methanolic group at the sixth position and a nitro at the seventh. So numbering has to be remembered. Nitrogen gets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the benzene ring, 6, 7, 8. Okay, this is how you name the quinoline moiety. Okay, let's go for the next. Ivermectin. Ivermectin, it's obtained, it's an alkaloid. It is obtained from Acetomasins streptomyces. It is obtained from Acetomycetes streptomyces. Ivermectin. Okay, this is a 16-member macrolide molecule. Okay, this is effective against nematodes, filarias, ascaris, and Strongyloides. Okay, these are the drugs which they will act. So ivermectin. Don't go to the structure. Leave the structure. It is. We will go for the mechanism of action. Mechanism of action of this drug is asked in the exam. So how do they act? So ivermectin targets your GABA receptors in your parasites. So what does this do? These ivermectins, they attack your GABA receptors in your parasites. So once these GABA receptors are getting targeted, this leads to your chloride influx in your. So chloride gets increased in the muscular in the muscle in the cells of your parasite. So once there is an increase in chloride this leads to your hyperpolarization, as I said in your previous example in your pipeline. So it also increases your hyperpolarization, and this leads to your paralysis of your. It leads to your flaccid paralysis of your worm, and your worm gets detached from your intestinal support, and it is excreted from your body. So this is how the ivermectin acts on the parasites. This is the same thing which is called placifer. The same thing. It acts on increases your, that is GABA receptor, as I said, and this is causes opening of your calcium ions, which increases calcium opening of your chloride ions, which increases your chloride ion intake. This causes your flaccid paralysis. This is the mechanism of action of your ivermectin. This is the mechanism of action of your. So these are the drugs used for the treatment of human intestinal nematodes, single dose treatment. Okay, these are the drugs and how they are effective. This chart shows where they are effective, against which particular nematodes the drug has got. So which is more effective depending upon number of more places, it is more effective. This can be shown, this particular slide. And this particular slide I would advise you to read before you go for the exam. This, okay, this first drug name, mechanism of and special effects. So what does it? Piperazine paralyzes the helminthic muscle. How? By causing, it blocks the myoneurial junction, causes chloride dependent hyperpolarization. So it increases chloride ion concentration in the muscular junction, neuromuscular junction, and thus causes flaccid paralysis. Other ivermectin similar to that, it also blocks your nerve signals by interacting with your GABA receptors, GABA gated calcium chloride, increase of chloride intake, and thus causes hyperpolarization. Parentheral, it causes the paralysis of your helminthic muscle by depolarization, spastic paralysis. Nicotinamide inhibits energy production, so it prevents your ATP production. Mebendazole inhibits your protein synthesis. It binds with your tubuline and inhibits your polymerization, and also it interferes with your glucose uptake. Diethyl carbamide enhances the phagocyte and killing. Similarly, praziquantel increases your membrane permeability and unmasks the cell. So it praziquantel, and thiabendazole inhibits your fumarate reductase and thus inhibits your ATP synthesis, which is your energy source. Okay, these are some of the examples how the mechanism of action, what is the specific effect. So when you go for your exam, if you read this slide, you'll come to know how different drugs act, how the different drugs act, what is the mechanism of action. So in synthesis, in exam, synthesis of albendazole is asked. It's not that difficult synthesis. So if you see on the slide, if you see on the slide, I'll be showing it in the board. Please do look at it properly. So we'll start with the synthesis. So what is your first starting material? It is 3-chloro-6-nitro acetanilide. So what it is? It is 3-chloro-6-nitro acetanilide, NH, C double bond O, C. This is acetanilide which contains a chlorine at the third and a nitro at the sixth position. So this is what you do treat. So there is a chloro over here. So you treat it with what? Propyl mercaptan. You treat it with what? Propyl mercaptan. That is 1, 2, CH3, CH2C. So you treat it with your propyl mercaptan in presence of your NaOH. So this thing forms a nucleotide. It attacks on your chlorine. It goes off. There is a displacement, nucleophilic displacement reaction. Your chlorine is substituted by your propyl group, thiopropyl group. So you get your next compound. That is your chlorine is replaced by S, CH2, CH2, CH. And in doing so, your acetanilide is also hydrolyzed to your NH2. Yes, the two things happen. One is your substitution and one is your hydrolysis. Both the reaction takes. Okay. What is the next step? You reduce it using palladium carbon. So you reduce your nitro to your amino group. So you get your corresponding NH2, NH2, S. Okay. So next step, you treat it with what? Next step, you treat it with cyanogen bromide. You treat it with cyanogen bromide. It undergoes cyclization reaction. It undergoes cyclization reaction to give your amino benzimidazole derivative. You get a 2-amino benzimidazole derivative. You get a 2-amino benzene, which is finally treated with methyl chloroformate, which is treated with methyl chloroformate. Okay. To show this, it is treated with methyl chloroformate. Okay. Cl methyl chloroformate, and you get your albendazole. So you get your albendazole. So this is the synthesis of your albendazole, which is very important from your examination point of view. Frequently asked along with other questions. For 5 marks question, usually this synthesis is asked as a part of your question. Okay. That is the synthesis of albendazole. The next is synthesis of thiabendazole. Nothing. You take orthophenylene diamine. You treat it with your thiazolamide. Okay. You get your corresponding. It undergoes condensation to give your, in presence of polyphosphoric acid, you get your thiabendazole. So this is the synthesis of your thiabendazole, and this completes the topic of your anthelminting. This completes the topic for your anthelmintings. Okay.